Ahoy, this is Zdenka. What are the best camera settings on the newly released Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra? Let's get to know your camera right here. This is in-depth tutorial. Timestamps are enabled so you can find what you're looking for faster. The first thing we are going to do is download Camera Assistant app. Don't go to Play Store, but go to Galaxy Store. It's only available there. This Camera Assistant is going to give you a lot more features in your native camera app. Now that we have Camera Assistant installed, let's open up native camera app, select photo mode and hit the settings icon. From the top, we see intelligent features. Scan documents and text is on by default and the same as scan QR codes. Let's keep it this way as those are very helpful. Shot suggestions are off by default and I don't recommend turning them on. If you have that on, it will guide you to what the camera thinks is the best shot, and the majority of the time, I'm finding it just places the object in the middle. It's much better to have guides enabled and learn how to use the rule of thirds grid instead. You will get much better results. Let's hit Intelligent Optimization. Quality optimization is set to maximum. This only affects photo mode. I would keep it on maximum. If you, however, shoot in certain conditions where you find that the camera takes too much time to process the image, you can speed up the camera with selecting medium or minimum setting. Scene optimization below will automatically optimize the color and the contrast of images to make dark scenes look brighter, food tastier, and landscape more vivid. I'm going to enable this feature for this tutorial so we can see what results we are going to get. Swipe shutter button to take a burst shot is by default. Let's hit that. When you swipe this button and hold it, it will take a burst shot. This is perfect for sports photography and action photography. It will take a whole bunch of photos of the action so you don't miss a perfect shot. Then once you hit the result, you have a choice of finding and keeping only the best shots. If you're someone who loves creating GIFs, you can enable that instead of burst shots. So now when you swipe down and hold, it's going to create a GIF instead. If you need to have your photos with a watermark, you can enable it here. Let's hit Advanced Picture Options. Here you can enable high efficiency pictures. Instead of saving photo in JPEG, which is an older format, you can save space with this new format HEIF. Just keep in mind that some websites and apps don't support that format. I personally don't use this for that very reason. For taking photos in Pro mode, you have the choice to choose if you want to save photos only in JPEG, RAW plus JPEG, or RAW only. RAW images don't have color tone adjustments, so this format is for those who want to adjust the photo later on in editing software such as Adobe Lightroom. I like the RAW plus JPEG option. If I want to share the image quickly, I send a JPEG. My goal is, however, to get the best result in Lightroom. Let's go back to General Camera Settings and go to Selfies section. Save selfies as previewed is disabled by default, and I would keep it that way. If you accidentally enable this and start mixing photos and videos taken with rear cameras, you will not get the consistent look because the background will be flipped, which is what you don't want. Swipe up or down to switch cameras is on. Let's keep it there as it is faster. Let's go to video settings. Auto FPS is off by default. I would keep it that way. If you find that the video is too dark in low light condition, you can enable Auto FPS for 30 frames per second videos or for 30 and 60 frames per second videos. It will, however, automatically optimize the frame rate, so you might end up with a bit of a jittery footage. This is the reason I keep it personally off. Video stabilization is on. Yes, we like smooth videos. Let's hit Advanced Video Options. HEVC, high efficiency format, is on by default. You have a choice to select if you want to prioritize video quality or saving space. For me, it is always the quality, but if you find that you are really low on space, you have the option to switch it here. If you find that HEVC is giving you trouble with certain editing programs, you can choose H.264 format instead. That is the most compatible. If you have lots of space on your phone and want even higher quality, keep the high bitrate videos setting on. Just a side note that if you select H.264 format, this feature is not available here as well as HDR10 Plus videos. It is only available in HEVC format. If you like HDR10 Plus look, you can certainly enable it here. HDR10 Plus will give you these results. Audio section below allows you to enable zoom in mic or 360 audio recording. One or the other. You cannot enable both. Zoom in mic will make the audio louder the more you zoom in. I personally don't use that. 360 recording gives you 3D sound if you are going to record sound through your Bluetooth headphones. Let's return to main camera settings and look at the general section. Tracking autofocus is off by default, and I keep it that way. What this feature does is that when you film someone with a rear camera, if the person moves, the camera will keep the focus on the person, but also move to follow the person. I would rather use gimbals such as Hohem iSteady M6 that has AI tracking sensor. The result will be way better. Grid lines are helpful with composition and keeping the horizon straight, so I highly recommend having it on. Location tags are on by default. I like to see where the photos and videos are taken, so I keep that on. Shooting methods are next. When you press volume buttons, you can take pictures and record video. You can, however, change it to zoom in or out or control sound volume. There are 3 additional settings below: voice commands, floating shutter button, and show palm. I personally recommend having voice commands enabled and show palm enabled only if you are not going to use gimbals such as Hohem iSteady M6. Otherwise, you will be running into gesture issues if you will be using the AI sensor. Floating shutter button just gives you an extra button that you can move anywhere on the screen. Settings to keep is a big section. I have all of these enabled. When you close the camera app and open it up again, it's not going to reset to default, but it will keep all your last settings, so you don't have to check all the settings before you actually take photos or record a video. Vibration feedback I keep on. If you don't like the vibration, you can always turn it off here. Camera Assistant is next. That's the app I mentioned at the beginning of the video. It will give you additional settings. The first thing you will see are zoom shortcuts. Here you can enable extra 2 times, 10 times, and 100 times shortcuts. Once you do that and go back to native camera app, you can see all these zoom shortcuts here. Auto HDR I left disabled. If you have that enabled, it will automatically capture HDR photos and videos. Most of the time, I want a consistent look, especially if I'm filming many video clips from the same location, so that is the reason I have this off. Picture softening is a great feature. Smartphones sometimes create over-sharpened images to get a more natural look similar to what traditional cameras can give you. Select medium picture softening. Auto lens switching is enabled here. What is it? When you point at something very close and then move to capture something in distance, you can see that the camera switches automatically. It selects the best lens for the scene and light conditions automatically. This is quite helpful for those who know nothing about photography. And at the end, if you want a different lens, you can still select the one you want yourself. It is also good to have distortion correction enabled. What is that? When you take a photo, for example, with an ultra-wide angle lens, you can see that there is a big distortion around the edges. The lines are far from being straight. If you enable distortion correction, you can see that it is now a bit better. I chose an ultra-wide angle lens on purpose so you can see the difference. With standard lenses, it will be very subtle. Let's take a look at high-resolution settings. Adaptive Pixel is a great feature as it will reduce noise or grain in the photos taken in low conditions. It will combine multiple lower resolution frames into the final high-resolution picture. Upscale digital zoom is another great feature I have enabled. If you take a photo and you zoomed heavily on the object, you might end up with a lower resolution image. This will bring or upscale the image back to the resolution you selected. Quick tap shutter will allow you to take a photo as soon as you tap the shutter, so you don't miss any important moment you want to capture. Prioritize focus over speed. I personally have enabled, as it will make sure the focus on the object is perfect before it actually takes a shot. The only time I would disable it is if I needed the speed. Missed shots, as it was holding me back. Video recording in photo mode is enabled. If you are taking photos and realize that you also want to take a quick video, just touch and hold the shutter button to record video. It is fast for those moments you don't want to miss, such as graduation, for example. If you want to take multiple selfies or group photos and you are part of the group, time multi-photo options are perfect. Right now it is set to one photo only, so it's not going to take multiple photos. If you select 3, for example, and go with 3 seconds, it will take 3 photos in total, but 3 seconds apart, so you have enough time to change the pose. For those who use DOF adapter, you can enable it here. It will automatically correct photos flipped by external DOF adapters. It only works in Pro Photo and Pro Video mode. If you own an anamorphic lens, such as this one or that one, you don't need to film in a third-party app anymore, as you can enable automatic desqueeze right here. This lens is a 1.33 times anamorphic lens. Without desqueezing, it's going to look like this. Once I enable 1.33 times desqueeze, now I see the correct look. And if you have a 1.55 times anamorphic lens, like this one, you can enable that. I will link those lenses with this case below the video in the video description. Audio monitoring is extremely important. Once you enable this, as you are filming, you can listen to the sound through Bluetooth, HDMI, or USB headphones or speakers. If you have a camera app opened and you wait a little, the camera will time out. If you find this happens too early for you, you can increase the time here. You can go all the way to 10 minutes. It is useful if you're taking photos of wildlife and waiting for the perfect moment to take the shot. If you are filming a long video with one take, such as a wedding ceremony or long time-lapse, and you have your phone on a tripod, you have the option to enable dim screen while recording to save a bit of a battery life. You can choose to dim after 1 minute of no input, 2, 5, and 10 minutes. If you use HDMI connected displays, you can enable clean preview on HDMI displays. This will show the preview of what you are recording without any settings or buttons being displayed on the screen. Let's leave the camera assistant and return to basic camera settings. Privacy section is the last section. Here you can review permissions, reset all settings to default, check camera firmware, and get help through Contact Us. This was the first part of mastering the native camera app on Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Don't forget to subscribe for more, as I will continue with tutorials explaining how to use each mode and show you many tricks you can do. Give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, leave it below, and I'll see you in one of these next. Ciao, ahoj.